it's like I'm trying to think of the question because we were talking about doing this show. We're talking about like dating preferences. Like if I swipe on a white woman, for example, and she messaged back, "Hey, thanks, but no thanks. I only date white guys." Should I immediately
Like,
think, "Yo, this bitch racist," or should I
mhm.
just like, "Okay, she has a preference"?
Right? Like, where do we go with all of this, I guess? Like, because I mean, I know, like, for me, I just like a person for who they are, but I know a
Mhm.
lot of people are very, I don't know, what's the word I'm trying to find here? Like,
And they're very limited in their selection and their choices of what they want in a mate.
yeah, it's like I only
I was
want
gonna say
like
narrow-minded, but we'll
uh
go with.
I know, right? Like, I only want like a dark-haired guy from Scotland with blue eyes. And like, there's only like 5 of those there, right?
Only five. But it's like my mind doesn't immediately think in that scenario I gave you that this woman's prejudiced. Because I really do believe that there's a difference between preferences and somebody just being prejudiced or racist for whatever reason.
Right? It's kind of like, like I hate to bring it up, but like the people that drive with the flags on the back of their cars and then they like yell out shit like,
America.
yeah, you know, they're like, send them back to Mexico. Like that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, that's very racist.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to deal with that. But, like, yeah, if you just like are like, I don't like that look, or I don't know. Or do you have a social bias?
Mm. Social bias, that's a curveball. So social bias, prejudice, and then preference.
Yeah. So, like, is
That
it,
can get blurry.
yeah, it's like, is it a social bias? Is it a preference? Is it,
Because I know a lot of black women that say black men ain't shit, but they only want to date black men.
yeah,
So is that a social bias or is that a preference?
right? That's a toughie.
I think it's a social bias because they may feel comfortable with black men.
Right. Yeah, like that's, they're like, I know what to expect.
Yeah. Because I look at a preference as, hey, I only date chicks who, I don't know, are
Have
vegan.
red hair.
Yeah. They did social conditioning when it comes to us nerds. Let's throw that one in there. Social conditioning. Because I really do think there's a thing. I have no, like proof of this, but when it comes to black men loving white women with red hair,
Yeah.
I really do think that's a thing. I see it everywhere. But I'm gonna do a documentary one day, calling Black and Red. I don't know, but
Follow Felicia Day around.
hell yeah, social bias. I say if you live in small town America, you're white. Everybody around you is white. That's all you know. That could be a social
Not
bias and not mean you're
necessarily.
racist.
Because, like, southeastern Colorado, it's mostly Hispanic. So, like, that's why, like, and this is so dorky, but, like, when my students were like, hey, we don't consider you white, I was like, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Some
So,
cultures expect you to only marry like I know some Jewish mothers, they're like, no, you need to marry a nice Jewish girl or, different cultures they prefer the family
yeah.
prefer you to date somebody of that culture.
Right. So, like, yeah, if we get into like Catholicism, then it's very like strict.
Yeah.
Like you can only date another Catholic.
And some people got some good reasons for this. They're like, hey, it's like they believe in what we believe in, or they understand our language, they understand our culture, our history, our heritage. And you bring in an outsider, you're going to have to explain this, and they may not get
Hmm.
it. Or
But
we want
then,
our kids to be this race. We're Hispanic, we want our kids to be Hispanic, our grandkids.
yeah,
Don't
it's kind
put
of like,
Aryan blood into that mix.
right? It's kind of like the one side of my family, they're like all Dutch and they know for like generations back,
Hmm.
you know. I don't think it was really like a, hey, Dutch pride kind of thing, but but then like I'm part Cherokee. I know, right?
Yeah.
But um and a lot of the Cherokees were very just like open to anyone.
Nice.
So it's like you kind of have to wonder about some of the whole cultural thing.
You do really have to wonder, especially when people are like, oh, well, these people interbred with these people. And, of course, when you have war and migration, throughout history, that did happen. People were, I don't think anybody's pure anything these days in the modern world.
Right?
They'll claim it,
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm like, we're all mixed.
especially in America.
Right? For
I don't
real.
know. It's like I never had to explain to my family, hey, I'm dating this girl. She's Asian, or she's white, or she's whatever. I never had to have that conversation with my family, but I know a lot of people have had to explain who they're dating to their family before they bring that person around.
Right? And like, I wonder about that, like, I mean, I know like my grandparents and like the older side of my family, like they came off racist, but like they were born in the 1910s.
Oh, dang.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like how people talked. And I know it's not okay, but like they didn't know better. And they were still like very kind to everyone. So, I mean, where do you go from that? Like, like the social conditioning, like we were talking about, versus like you're just a kind person.
Yeah. And this brings up an interesting question. Last night here in Colorado Springs, the one gay club that we have in town, it was a mass shooting. 5 people were dead, 18 people were injured. And
Hmm.
looking at some of the comments on YouTube, somebody made a comment, "Oh, this is the only kind of mass shooting I believe in." And it was
Right?
all this anger. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, and I was just like, no, like why do you care?
And my question, and my condolences to all the family members and anyone impacted by that. But my question is, why is it some people who are racist are more willing to be like, you know what, I don't like it, but if it makes you happy, go for it. They're more
Mhm.
willing to put aside their hate just because it'll make that family member happy. But don't you be one of them funny people. So why is it more people who are quote unquote racist more willing to accept an interracial relationship rather than a gay relationship?
Right?
Why do you think that is?
I know. I don't know if it's just like because we've been so conditioned by social norms, like, like you're not allowed to be with someone because I think there are actually still a couple of states where it's illegal for um I don't know if I can say it on here, but that sex
Same sex
and
marriages?
Uh-huh. Um, couple places in the South, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah, and well, while we're on that rag, it's still illegal for women to vote in Arizona.
That is crazy. You know, it's a couple states have just fully abolished slavery, and some of them they still have it on their books. It's
It's
crazy.
yeah, it's like how backwards are we, guys? Like, can't we just all get along?
Oh Lord,
I
it
had
takes
to
a
go there.
village.
I had to go there.
But you know, I've never cared who my friends are dating, who my family members are dating. As long as they're dating a good person, I don't care.
Right? Like if that person makes you happy, they treat you well, cool, right?
Yep,
Some of my favorite people, and I'm a
that's good.
musician, so I mean, some of my favorite people are very flamboyant. And you know what? They're awesome to hang out with. Like, shout out to Rufio.